Three tails, old yin. Three tails, old yin. Two tails, one head, yang yang. Two tails, one head, yang yang. Two tails, one head, yang yang. Two heads, one tail, yang yin. All right, we will take a look at our trigrams and hexagrams and figure those out with, so we'll read our primary hexagram, the bottom trigram, as broken, broken, solid, which is Gen Mountain. I'm going to skip some of those, reading the exact trigrams, trying to go a little quicker today. And the top trigram as solid, solid, broken, which is Dewey Laker Marsh. So Gen Mountain over Dewey Laker Marsh, or rather Dewey Laker Marsh above Gen Mountain, is hexagram 31. And once our changing lines of 1 and 2 transform, it'll give us solid, solid, solid for our bottom trigram, which is Kuion Heaven. So Kuion Heaven beneath Dewey Laker Marsh, give 43 as our supporting hexagram. And the titles to each. Hexagram 31. Sensitivity, harmonization of the celestial and the earthly. Makes me think of Major Pain. Sensitive. And supporting hexagram 43. Parting. Detachment from discriminating consciousness, repelling the energy of external influences. We will look at Kibi's I Ching Tarot for the images for each of our hexagrams. 31 sensitivity. It's called influence. Love, sympathy, sensitivity, exchange of feelings. The sensations felt in the body, feet, calves, crotch, self, back, tongue. The top line, to be talking casually too much. The lake is symbolizes speaking and the mouth. Thinks he's hilarious, just like me. Probably what it is right there. And parting, 43. Breakthrough. This is the melon. The melon to heaven. Breakthrough. Open up, eliminate, rupture, drive away. Get rid of the dictator. The bias is falling apart. Don't try to solve it by force. The top line, Yao, is a yin. Broken the line is the melon, so the melon is drawn as a symbol. Butt of coals. Next, we will look at Hilary Barrett's I Ching, Walking Your Path, Creating Your Future. It's a nice introductory I Ching commentary. 31 sensitivity. She calls influence. When we approach the I Ching to consult the Oracle, the questions we bring to it will always have the general context of how can I act in creative relationship with the forces or spirits behind this moment of time. Key questions. What influence is active and what does it draw you towards? What is its place in your life? Oracle. Influence, creating success. Constancy bears fruit. Taking a woman, good fortune. Influence is what moves people and how people are open and available to be moved. By emotion or inspiration, physical responses, or visiting spirits. All these things touch, stir, and attract us, drawing us into relationship. The Chinese character for influence shows a mouth and a weapon. The influence goes deep and makes us vulnerable. It is good to respond to the power of influence with constancy, steadying the motion it inspires and creating a place in your life to contain it. The man who takes a woman in marriage brings her into his home and makes room for her there. Good fortune comes from this feminine way of relating, being open and allowing space for influences. Image. Above the mountain is a lake. Influence. A noble one accepts people with emptiness. The lake can form because the mountain makes space for it, yet still remains inwardly solid. With solid rock on the inside, there can be clear water above. Without it, there would be only mud throughout. In the same way, the noble one accepts people into an empty space. He ensures that he can hear and receive others without confusing his self with theirs. Sequence. The I Ching is divided into two canons. The upper canon ends with hexagram 30, clarity, and the lower canon begins here. Influence follows from all the hexagrams that precede it. There is heaven and earth, and so there are the 10,000 things. There are the 10,000 things, and so there is man and woman. There is man and woman, and so there is husband and wife. There's husband and wife, and so there's father and son. There's father and son, and so there's ruler and minister. There's ruler and minister, and so there's higher and lower. There's higher and lower, and so there's a place for rights and justice to operate. This is a creation story for the human world, how it arises from relationships beginning with the first two hexagrams and culminating in harmonious ways to relate to people and to the spirits. It sets attraction and influence in context, showing how people belong together and complement one another. Pair. Influence forms a pair with hexagram 32 lasting. Influence calls, lasting endures. Influence is a time to be called and moved. It is always an encounter with something new. Next, we will look at our supporting hexagram 43, parting. Hilary Barrett calls it deciding. Key questions. What do you stand for? How do you define yourself? What belongs in your realm, and where do you need to make a clean break? Oracle. Deciding. Tell it in the king's chambers. With truth, call out, there is danger. Notify your own city. Fruitless to take up arms. Fruitful to have a direction to go. The old Chinese character for deciding shows a hand holding up a token, asserting your identity and right to be heard, even in the king's chambers. This is where decision begins, at the very center of power. That center might be inside your own mind, and yet still not feel safe. Declaring the truth loud and clear is dangerous. It stirs up old ghosts, inner and outer. Yet better this than ignoring and neglecting them. As the message of the decision spreads out from the center, it is fruitless to take up arms. This is a time to communicate, not fight. It will serve you better to focus with clear intention on what you're moving towards rather than what you're reacting against. Image. Lake above heaven, deciding. A noble one distributes riches to reach those below. She dwells in power and virtue and also shuns things. A lake above heaven is a cloud, sharing the blessing of rain and always pure, never in contact with the mud. A noble one's generosity is like this, a pure, inspired expression of her character without ulterior motive. She gives and also knows what to stay away from. Sequence. Deciding follows from hexagram 42, increasing. Increasing and not reaching an end must mean breakthrough, and so deciding follows. Deciding means breaking through. As more and more is poured in, the limits must surely break. Instead of traveling with the cycle from increase to decrease, you take a positive decision to use and share the blessing. Pair. Deciding forms a pair with hexagram 44, coupling. Coupling means meeting, supple meets firm. Deciding means breaking up, firm breaks up supple. Hexagram 43 has 5 firm, unbroken lines pushing out a single supple open line. They embody an assertion of identity that breaks through indecision. In hexagram 44, the single open line finds its way back. And back to our primary hexagram 31 to read our changing line 1 and 2, which put a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here some places you may find yourself, take precedence over all other elements, and are the main focus of the reading, are the most focused part of the reading. Thank you. Line 1, inklings just beginning to sense what could be involved or needed. Each has its own general context, that's the first. Line 2, the general context of it is the heart's perception, the emotional center, where you make and feel connections. So back to primary hexagram 31 to read changing lines 1 and 2. Hexagram 31, influence, changing line 1. Influence in your big toes. Influence first enters your awareness as a stirring realization that you could be somewhere else. Something is pulling you, and with no clear ideas yet of what it might be, you only know that you have itchy feet. This is not yet good or bad. Nothing has happened yet. You are still standing where you were before. But everything could happen. Those small toes can set the whole body in motion. Even the very beginnings of influence open up the structure of your commitments and relationships for far-reaching transformation. And changing line 2. Influence in your calves, pitfall. Staying in place, good fortune. This is a mindless, muscular energy, ready to bounce into action and start afresh, that may pull you off balance. Its momentum quickly walks you into bad places you can't so easily escape, wasting your energy and the situation's positive potential. But if you settle down and put yourself on a more stable footing, any action you take later, after reflection, and from a state of equilibrium, will be stronger. You don't have to use your energy now. Being able to move doesn't make it the right time to act. Sometimes not acting when the impulse takes you is a powerful way to establish your independence from old patterns. Next, we will take the angle of Benabel Wynn in I Ching The Oracle. Take a look at our hexagrams through her lens. I cannot recommend enough picking up a copy of this book. Hexagram 31 she calls Accord, the Oracle. Now is the time to cultivate influence. Attract what you seek without pursuing. Receive others with humility and non-judgment. On their own accord they'll come. Endeavor to give more than you receive, and the paradox of life is that this will grant you more than you give. To attract love, emanate with love. Be loving. Show your feelings, and people will have feelings for you. Let the people move you, and you will move the people. Reciprocal attraction, mutual influence. Lovers are joyous and prosperous. Atop the mountain, there is a lake, enduring joy and prosperity, mutual accord and completion. The sage is selfless and open-minded toward all people. A good omen, auspicious to proceed. Taking the maiden as a wife brings good fortune. Auspicious for unions between heaven and earth, yin and yang. There is prosperity to be had in the mutual influence. The parable of taking a maiden as a wife is a metaphor for taking a developing concept to the next level by committing to it. The oracle affirms that what you contemplate is worthy of manifestation. Commit to the endeavor, and it will yield great fruition. What you put into that endeavor is exactly what you will get out of it. If the inquiry is about love or marriage, then this hexagram is a very auspicious omen. In business, auspicious for mergers and acquisitions. The character, xian, with the addition of the character for heart, xin, becomes the word for emotion and sentimentality, gan. Thus, xian is about sensation, feelings, and influencing another through touch, be that physical touch or touching another's heart. Note also that implied in the subtext of mutual accord is tension. For feelings to be aroused between the lower, in this case mountain, and the upper, lake, there must also be an intense strain or suspense. The love and romance hexagrams. There are 4 hexagrams that address romantic love and civil unions or marriage. Hexagram 31, 32, 53, and 54. Here, hexagram 31 refers to the mutual attraction and sexual chemistry experienced by the young couple in love. and our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. 43, parting. Hilary Barrett calls decisive action. The Oracle. After a long period of tension, there will be a breakthrough. Be careful, as there may be risks ahead. Your interests are not the only ones at stake in the endeavor. Be sure to warn others about the risks involved, but do not yet reveal your intentions. No gains from reactive combat. You intuit that you must take decisive action, but how? In which direction will you go? Send a prayer upward to heaven. Place full faith in the divine that blesses your path, and your prayer shall be answered. The solution will be a different path from the one initially conceived. The image of hexagram 43 is that of an impending flood, and having to plan, execute the plan, and undertake the building of levees, embankments to stop the flooding of rivers, swiftly, decisively. The image calls to mind how you, the great, saved ancient China from the great floods. The sage will share the kingdom's abundance and prosperity downward to all people. In all laws, embody virtue and benevolence. The sage must be seen to embody virtue and benevolence. Make known throughout the king's court a sincere and stern warning cry declared throughout the capital. Is a reference to a tribe or clan in the West. Or wrong, this ideogram is a reference to a tribe or clan in the West. Unfavorable to respond with arms. This is not a martial incident. Favorable to embark on the journey. Take decisive action. And our changing lines 1 and 2, which put a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here some places you may find yourself. They take precedence over all other elements and are the most focused part of the reading. 31 rather. Changing line 1. 31, changing line 1. Sensation at the thumb. Change is coming, though no one seems to sense it. The beginnings of movement, an idea begins to surface. This is an idea beginning to form itself at the base of the mountain. Whether the influence will have an impact remains to be seen. It is still too early to tell. No clear prognostication of success or failure can be ascertained at this time. The outcome of your endeavor remains unclear, though some energy is bubbling already below the surface. Mu is more popularly interpreted as big toe, though the reference could also be to the thumb. This text has opted for thumb because the trigram mountain is governed by the Wu Xing phase earth, which corresponds with the thumb. As early as the Shang dynasty, 1600 to 1046 BC, kings and warriors alike wore archer thumb rings on their dominant hand. A slot was carved into the precious stone or bronze ring to guide and aid release of the bowstring. One such archer thumb ring was found in the tomb of Fu Hao, circa 1200 BC, the female warrior general, and they were often worn linked to the archer's wrist. Moreover, the thumb ring protected the finger during hunting, battle, and sport. And changing line 2. Sensation at the calves, foreboding adversity. Holding back yields good fortune. You feel the impulse to move, but moving now will not bode well. You are not yet strong or well equipped enough to advance. Remain in your current position. Maintain the status quo. Next, we will look at I-ming's Taoist I Ching, which is a bit more alchemical in nature. He wrote this in 1796 as a Taoist adept. 31. Sensitivity. Sensitivity is developmental. It is beneficial to be correct. Marriage brings good fortune. Explanation. Sensitivity means feeling and influence. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is lake, joyous, and below is mountain, still. Firmness rests within, flexibility rests without. Stillness is the substance of joyfulness. Joyfulness is the function of stillness. This hexagram has the meaning of yin and yang responding to each other, so it is called sensitivity. This hexagram represents harmonization of yin and yang. It follows on the previous hexagram pitfalls. In pitfalls, yin traps yang. Yang is not strong and yin is not docile. Yin and yang do not combine. So this work of harmonization is indispensable. But harmonization of yin and yang calls for spontaneity, not force. Spontaneity is non-conscious sensitivity, while force is conscious sensitivity. With non-conscious sensitivity, yin and yang harmonize with each other without any insensitivity. With conscious sensitivity, yin and yang are individually separate, and sensitivity has limits. Therefore, in sensitivity, there is a path of development, but though the path of sensitivity is developmental, there is right and wrong non-consciousness, and there is right and wrong consciousness. You cannot say that the non-consciousness of a dead tree or cold ashes is developmental, is the developmental path of sensitivity. Dead trees and cold ashes are purely negative, with no positivity. How could that be called sensitivity? Sensitivity means the subtle communion of yin and yang, as in the image of the hexagram, wherein a boy and girl are together, each unminding till the yin and yang energies are full, and their feelings stir, and they naturally become sensitive to each other. This is unaffected sensitivity. How can you take ignorant mindlessness to be sensitivity? Non-consciousness or mindlessness, in the proper sense of the term, means there is no human mentality. When there is no human mentality, there is the mind of Tao. The mind of Tao is a mind that is not minding. Minding means having the human mentality. When one has the human mentality, one lacks the mind of Tao. The mind of the human mentality is not the real mind. The mind of Tao is real. The human mentality is artificial. When you use the artificial mind, sensing is inaccurate. Yin and yang dichotomize. When you use the real mind, sensing is true. Yin and yang commune. Whether yin senses and yang responds, or yang senses and yin responds, they are equally ruled by the mind of Tao, and sense correctly. When sensitivity is true, not sensing by mentality, what is there that cannot be sensed? What sensing is not potentially beneficial? In terms of correct sensitivity, no one in the world compares to a chaste woman. The virtues of a woman are based on chastity and calm. Not easily losing herself to others, she will wait for a good partner to have feeling. This is feeling not by the heart, but by truth. In the qualities of the hexagram, first there is stillness, after that joy. Joy comes from stillness. When practitioners of the Tao harmonize yin and yang, causing yin and yang to communicate sensitively, if they can take the virtue of a chaste woman as their sensitivity, then whatever they sense will be right. Tranquil and imperturbable, yet sensitive and effective. Sensitive and effective, yet tranquil and imperturbable. They rest in the proper place. Whether they go along with things or reverse them, all is as they will, and they attain that good fortune. Next, we'll look at our supporting hexagram 43, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence the direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. 43, parting. Parting is lauded in the royal court. The call of truth involves danger, addressing one's own domain. It is not beneficial to go right to war, but it is beneficial to go somewhere. Explanation. Parting is separating and leaving. In the body of the hexagram, one yin is on top of 5 yangs. Yang is about to become pure, while yin is about to disappear. The qualities of the hexagram are strength and harmony, harmoniously acting with strength, strong but not violent. It equally has the meaning of using yang to get rid of yin, so it is called parting. This hexagram represents repelling yin by yang. It follows on the previous hexagram, reduction. In reduction, one stills rejoicing and does not rejoice arbitrarily, so as to foster yang and repel yin, using inherent sane energy to repel the energy of external influences. The energy of external influences is invited by the discriminatory consciousness, so if you want to repel external influences, nothing is better than to first part with the discriminatory consciousness. After people get mixed up in temporal conditioning, the discriminatory consciousness takes charge of affairs. Wine and sex distract them from reality. The lure of wealth deranges their nature. Emotions and desires well forth at once. Thoughts and ruminations arise in a tangle, and the mind ruler is lost in confusion. Because habituation becomes second nature over a long period of time, it cannot be abruptly removed. It is necessary to work on the matter in a serene and equanimous way, according to the time. Eventually, discrimination will cease and the original spirit will return. The human mind will sublimate and the mind of Tao will be complete. Again, you will see the original self. But this discriminating consciousness is loved by the human mind. If you want to part from it, it is first best to clarify the mind. Once the mind is clarified, the mind of Tao appears, and the discriminatory consciousness is easily dismissed. Therefore, parting is lauded in the royal court. The royal court is the abode of the mind ruler, where true and false are distinguished. When the mind clearly understands true and false, then the mind is not deluded by the discriminatory consciousness and easily parts from it. But since the discriminatory consciousness has been in charge of things for so long, its roots are deep and its authority is tremendous. One cannot attack it impetuously, but must find the right way between intensity and laxity before it is possible to settle anything. When the text says the call of truth, it means the true mind and genuine intent as the means to amass sane energy. When it says involves danger, it means caution and wariness is the way to ward off aberrant energy. Addressing one's own domain means refining the self. It is not beneficial to go right to war means to wait for the proper time. Once one has been able to amass the right kind of energy and ward off the wrong kind of energy, and also has refined oneself, awaiting the proper time to act, myriad objects are all empty, and there is just the discriminating consciousness alone. Take advantage of the right time to detach from this, and there will be unfailing benefit. The qualities of the hexagram are strength and harmony, serene without pressure, awaiting the right time to act. This seems to be the secret of parting from yin. Next, we will look at our changing lines 1 and 2 in our primary hexagram 31 sensitivity, which put a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They take precedence over all other elements and are the most focused part of the reading. Changing line 1. Sensing in the big toe is inauspicious. Explanation. When one is foolish and low-minded, unable to refine the self and discipline the mind, to arbitrarily imagine great things is like sensing in the big toe. The big toe can move but not walk. To feel something one cannot carry out is not right sensing. This is sensitivity that stirs the human mentality. And changing line 2. Sensing in the calf is inauspicious. Bidding is auspicious. Or biting is auspicious. Explanation. Being weak without firmness, inwardly lacking the mind of Tao, being affected by the human mentality is like sensing in the calf. The calf is something that should be still and not move. If one acts arbitrarily when it is not appropriate to act, the action will inevitably bring on misfortune. However, if flexible receptivity is balanced, even if one has the human mind, stirred by feeling, if one can abide in rectitude and not be deluded by the human mentality, this too is a way to bring about good fortune in the midst of misfortune. This is sensitivity without the mind of Tao. Next, we will look at the commentary sections of each of our hexagrams, keeping in mind that the 2 changing lines were the most focused part of the reading. Our primary hexagram, 31, sensing. Lake above, mountain below. There is a lake on a mountain, thus does the superior person accept people with openness. Sensing means feeling. Above is lake, below is mountain. There is a lake on a mountain. A lake is open, a mountain is high. To be high yet capable of openness, this is the image of sensing. What superior people see in this is that just as there can be no lake atop a mountain if there is no open space, similarly, people can't be sensitive to anything if their minds are not open. Therefore, they empty themselves of what they have and receive enhancement from another. The Taoist master, Zhu Yang, said, "Stop exercising clever artifice as though it were effective practice. Recognize the other's method of immortality. The other is another person, but it does not mean an ordinary person in the world. It means the original immortal true person inherent in oneself. Because of mixing with acquired conditioning, it has run away and become ineffective. Long covered up and buried away, it is lost and does not return. Though it may show up occasionally, students who cling to the temporal, who stick to the conditioned, miss it even when it is right before them and are unable to sense it. This is all because of inability to refine the self. If one is unable to refine oneself, personal desires fill the being, and their sprouts clog the opening of awareness. Being filled and not open, whenever another comes, there is no room for reception. Superior people who practice the Tao refine themselves and master their minds, getting rid of all acquired pollutants so that their minds are open. When the mind is open, the primordial energy comes from nothingness, so that one can receive enhancement from the other and become fulfilled. One senses by openness, the other responds with fulfillment. The small goes and the great comes. The gold elixir of immortality spontaneously crystallizes. This is like a high mountain being empty and open on top and receiving the moisture of a lake. It happens spontaneously without any intention that it be so. And our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. 43, parting. Lake above, heaven below. Moisture ascends to heaven, which parts with it. Thus do superior people distribute blessings to reach those below, while avoiding presumption of virtue. Parting is a bursting forth. Above is lake and below is heaven. Moisture ascends to heaven, then changes into rain and waters myriad creatures. It is as though heaven is being unselfish and parts with the moisture to let it flow down. This is the image of parting. What superior people see in this is that just as myriad creatures grow when there is moisture in the sky, so are the people secure and peaceful when those above have benevolence. Therefore they distribute blessings to reach those below, causing everyone to benefit from their kindness. To distribute to those below is to distribute blessings. If one distributes blessings unself-consciously, then the giving is great. The generosity is real. This is like heaven covering everything and giving life to all creatures. This is what is meant by the saying, "Those of great virtue do not consider themselves virtuous. They are companions of heaven." If one is conscious of distribution of blessings being virtuous, this is presumption of virtue. There is still selfishness in the heart, and the distribution of blessings will not endure. This is not to be considered virtue. This is what those who distribute blessings are to strictly avoid. Therefore, superior people view others and self as the same. Distributing blessings, they do not expect any reward. They have virtue, but do not presume upon it. So their virtue grows day by day, while their minds grow humbler day by day. They part with all self-satisfaction and self-importance. This comes about as inevitably as moisture in the sky falls to the earth. Working on the Tao, accumulating achievement and building up practice, carrying out such and such expedients to benefit others is like distributing blessings to people. But many who carry out expedients to benefit others do so without genuine sincerity. Some do it for reputation, some do it for profit, some make an ineffective outward show of helping people based on ancient models and then blame others when things don't go quite as they wish. These are all cases of having no virtue, yet presuming on virtue, and are not worthy of the name of benefiting others. Observe how heaven bestows blessings on myriad creatures. Does it expect any reward from them? Not expecting any reward from myriad creatures, heaven has virtue but does not presume upon it. If even heaven does not presume upon its virtue, how much less is the virtue of ordinary people to be presumed upon? Whenever one does anything for the benefit of others, if one can emulate heaven in not presuming upon virtue, one's virtue will not fail to be great. Next, we will look at James de Corn's Gnostic Book of Changes at our hexagrams and changing lines. Give me a moment. Let's just skip that one, I guess, because it is dead. That's fine. We'll look at the secret hexagram that we get in Benabel Wynn's I Ching The Oracle. So to get the secret hexagram, we look at the second, third, and fourth lines of our primary hexagram, and then the third, fourth, and fifth lines of our supporting hexagram. So it will be broken, solid, 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 which would be Quion heaven above, Xun Winder Wood is hexagram 44. Interesting. Hexagram 44 is called Meeting, warding off negative influences, preserving the positive. And we will read Meeting, our secret hexagram, which is like the hidden influence behind things. in Benabille Wynn's I Ching The Oracle. Hexagram 44, turned right to it. Improper meeting is what it's called. The Oracle. Unions and partnerships are not auspicious at this time. Resist encounters that will undermine your sincerity. Honor and nurture personal independence. Keep temptations in check. If error is left uncorrected, faults and infractions unaddressed, then corruption sets in. Complacency turns a minor defect into a grave danger. Abuse of opportunities. A meeting that is not proper, the result is betrayed trust. The sage's rule, in accordance with the mandate of heaven, commands the four corners of the world. One in bad faith is inserted into a position of power and begins to gain influence. Inferior forces begin to gain power. That power must be subdued. If the situation worsens, then the sage is counseled to go forth with resistance and civil disobedience. Eradicate the evil influence. A maiden is placed where she should not be. Marrying the maiden would be an improper meeting. If the inquiry is about romance, love, or marriage, then there are adversity and troubles. Take caution. Unions and partnerships are not auspicious at this time. Traditionally, hexagram 44 corresponds with the summer solstice around the 5th lunar month of the lunisolar calendar. King Zhao of Shang and his concubine Daji. Hexagram 44 is an account of the favored and corrupt consort Daji of the last Shang king. According to legend, a demonic fox spirit possessed a beautiful maiden's body, and when the lustful Shang king heard of a maiden who resembled the goddess Nua, he arranged for the maiden to be brought to his court. Daji corrupts the king, and together they empty the kingdom's treasury with their extravagances, inflicting much torture, suffering, and pain upon all. Thus the king loses the mandate of heaven. A revolt led by the Zhao ensures and brings about the fall of the Shang. Wow, okay, so now we will get a randomly card drawn chapter from the Tao Te Ching while we sum up the reading. We have, wow, I lit this incense in the beginning and it never burnt past the initial part. I don't know why I'm lighting it now. Ambiance. All right. So, our primary hexagram 31 sensitivity has Gen Mountain below dewy lake or marsh, and the firmness of the mountain with the emptiness on top supports the ability to hold this lake water, which can remain clear. If the mountain weren't firm like that, with that space above, it would just be mud. So there is a firmness and a stability that manages the ability to remain open, so that the influence of the mind of Tao, which it talked about in Lu I-ming's Taoist I Ching, could be fostered. Gonna have all this firmness just to protect openness. And in a sense, it's describing the difference between the human mentality and the mind of Tao. So this openness that it's referring to is being able to house the mind of Tao without too much intellectualism and human mentality taking charge of affairs. Our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence, direction of travel, and underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all, is 43, parting, which shows Qian heaven beneath dewy lake or marsh. And let's two there that came out. Let's take a look here at... I want to read the commentary section of Louis Ming's Taoist I Ching on this. Again, 43. Parting. What superior people see in this is that just as myriad creatures grow when there is moisture in the sky, so are the people secure and peaceful when those above have benevolence. Therefore, they distribute blessings to reach those below, causing everyone to benefit from their kindness. To distribute to those below is to distribute blessings. If one distributes blessings unself-consciously, then the giving is great. The generosity is real. This is like heaven covering everything and giving life to all creatures. This is what is meant by the saying, "Those of great virtue do not consider themselves virtuous. They are companions of heaven." If one is conscious of distribution of blessings being virtuous, this is presumption of virtue. There is still selfishness in the heart, and the distribution of blessings will not endure. This is not to be considered virtue. This is what those who distribute blessings are to strictly avoid. Therefore, superior people view others and self as the same. Distributing blessings, they do not expect any reward. They have virtue but do not presume upon it. So their virtue grows day by day, while their minds grow humbler day by day. They part with all self-satisfaction and self-importance. This comes about as inevitably as moisture in the sky falls to the earth. Working on the Tao, accumulating achievement and building up practice, carrying out such and such expedients to benefit others is like distributing blessings to people. But many who carry out expedients to benefit others do so without genuine sincerity. Some do it for reputation, some do it for profit, some make an ineffective outward show of helping people based on ancient models and then blame others when things don't go quite as they wish. These are all cases of having no virtue, yet presuming on virtue, and are not worthy of the name of benefiting others. Observe how heaven bestows blessings on myriad creatures. Does it expect any reward from them? Not expecting any reward from myriad creatures, heaven has virtue, but does not presume upon it. If even heaven does not presume upon its virtue, how much less is the virtue of ordinary people to be presumed upon? Whenever one does anything for the benefit of others, if one can emulate heaven in not presuming upon virtue, one's virtue will not fail to be great. And then our changing lines, 1 and 2, influence starts in the big toe, but the big toe is not able to walk on its own. And so it's not proper sensing. It's like thinking up all these great schemes and yet being a big toe that is reliant on the rest of the body, the foot and the leg, to move. It's like itching for the opportunity to get in there and just use the will of heaven or the power of heaven to do something, and you are a big toe. You're sensing ineffectively. And then the sensing in the calves, that one, let's read that one out of here. Again, 31, changing line 2. Oops. Sensing in the calf is inauspicious, biting is auspicious. Being weak without firmness, inwardly lacking the mind of Tao, being affected by the human mentality is like sensing in the calf. The calf is something that should be still and not move. If one acts arbitrarily when it is not appropriate to act, the action will inevitably bring on misfortune. However, if flexible receptivity is balanced, even if one has the human mind stirred by feeling, if one can abide in rectitude and not be deluded by the human mentality, this too is a way to bring about good fortune in the midst of misfortune. This is sensitivity without the mind of Tao. So it sounds like this is a time with changing line 2 to, even though the mind of Tao may not be something we have at the time, we still can foster it by not acting inauspiciously or inappropriately, and kind of fostering, holding space for the mind of Tao to reappear. Then our secret hexagram, which is like the influence behind the things, is hexagram 44, meeting. And in it, it is also inauspicious and relates things to when the king of the Shang dynasty married this woman. She it's like a Yoko Ono situation, I guess, in some people's minds, but far worse. Clearly Yoko Ono wasn't responsible for kind of the stuff that went down to the common people. Yeah, we're gonna read this whole thing. So this is like the secret influence behind things. The Oracle. So it's called improper meeting. It's not a good time for meetings or new partnerships. Unions and partnerships are not auspicious at this time. Resist encounters that will undermine your sincerity. Honor and nurture personal independence. Keep temptations in check. If error is left uncorrected, faults and infractions unaddressed, then corruption sets in. Complacency turns a minor defect into a grave danger, abusive opportunities. A meeting that is not proper, the result is betrayed trust. The sage's rule, in accordance with the mandate of heaven, commands the four corners of the world. One in bad faith is inserted into a position of power and begins to gain influence. Inferior forces begin to gain power. That power must be subdued. If the situation worsens, then the sage is counseled to go forth with resistance and civil disobedience, eradicate the evil influence. A maiden is placed where she should not be. Marrying the maiden would be an improper meeting. If the inquiry is about romance, love, or marriage, then there are adversity and troubles. Take caution. Unions and partnerships are not auspicious at this time. Traditionally, hexagram 44 corresponds with the summer solstice around the 5th lunar month of the lunisolar calendar. And here's the story I was referring to. King Zhao of Shang and his concubine Daji. Hexagram 44 is an account of the favored and corrupt consort, Daji, of the last Shang king. According to legend, a demonic fox spirit possessed a beautiful maiden's body, and when the lustful Shang king heard of a maiden who resembled the goddess Nuwa, he arranged for the maiden to be brought to his court. Daji corrupts the king, and together they empty the kingdom's treasury with their extravagances, inflicting much torture, suffering, and pain upon all. Thus the king loses the mandate of heaven. A revolt led by the Zhao ensues and brings about the fall of the Shang. So there's a lot of inauspiciousness in this reading. Both changing lines are inauspicious, and the influence behind the scenes is inauspicious. It says meeting is not proper at this time, and so improper that it references it to something like Daji influencing the king of the Shang king, causing him to lose the mandate of heaven. So the counsel is to, in the changing lines, both in our primary and supporting hexagrams in Lu I-ming's Taoist teaching, it talks about the difference between the human mentality and the mind of Tao. And it highly focuses on basically, with sensitivity, having this firmness that holds space for the mind of Tao. This mountain with heaven, with mountain with lake on top of it. It's like all this firmness is holding up this clear water. And then also in the supporting hexagram, there was talk about basically using the human mentality, if necessary, to foster the mind of Tao if it isn't available at the time. So similarly, it's almost like trying to figure out a way to maybe not act on the human mentality being stirred up as it is without the mind of Tao, and creating space to hold that or gain it again. And then changing lines. It seems like there's an energy or a sensation that movement should start, but with all this inauspiciousness surrounding the reading, including in the changing lines, we need to resist that. There needs to be staying in one place, and it's not a good time, due to the secret hexagram, to make partnerships or anything like that, lest we lose the mandate of heaven. So (32) we will read from the Tao Te Ching, and then next after that would be 18. And we will start by reading from The Eternal Tao Te Ching by Benjamin Moore, or Benjamin Hoff rather. 32. Without titles. The way is always without title, rank, or position. Although its natural simplicity makes it seem small, no one under heaven is capable of making it his subject. If princes and kings were able to guard it and protect it, the 10,000 things would act as their guests. Heaven and earth would notice and would unite to send sweet dew. The people, without being commanded, would then behave as equals. Since the beginning of systems, rules, and regulations, we have had titles, ranks, and positions. In addition, the titles, ranks, and positions have had us. Those who hold on to wisdom stop. By knowing to stop, they can avoid danger. Compared to man's constrictive systems, rules, and regulations, and titles, ranks, and positions, the way's existence in this world is like a broad stream in a deep gorge, running into a large river, flowing to the sea. We will also read that from Jia Fu Fang and Jane English. I like Benjamin Hoff because he really endeavors to capture the original meaning, using whatever words make sense for that to try and really draw that out. This one is maybe a little bit more poetic, but possibly a little less accurate, or focused on that as being. So 32. Okay. The Tao is forever undefined. Small though it is in the unformed state, it cannot be grasped. If kings and lords could harness it, the 10,000 things would naturally obey. Heaven and earth would come together, and gentle rain fall. Men would need no more instruction, and all things would take their course. Once the whole is divided, the parts need names. There are already enough names. One must know when to stop. Knowing when to stop averts trouble. Tao in the world is like a river flowing home to the sea. And then 18. Starting again with the Eternal Tao Te Ching, Benjamin Hoff. A great falsehood. The great way has been abandoned. We have benevolence and righteousness. Clever knowing has arisen. We have a great falsehood. Family relations have lost their harmony. We have filial piety and maternal affection. The nation's household is in darkness and disorder. We have loyal ministers. And 18 in Jia Fu Feng and Jane English. When the great Tao is forgotten, kindness and morality arise. When wisdom and intelligence are born, the great pretense begins. When there is no peace within the family, filial piety and devotion arise. When the country is confused and in chaos, loyal ministers appear.